If you've read my blog or watched my video on how to introduce yourself on a B2B cold call, you'll know how to introduce yourself on the phone, how to communicate your elevator pitch in no more than 3 sentences, and how to wrap up your introduction. So now it's time to start the next part of the call and move into the discovery section. In this section of the call, you want to ask broad questions that yield as much information about the prospect's current situation as possible, and then narrow in on specific problems. What you're looking to do is to uncover the pain points that they are living with on a day-to-day basis. These may be large, they may be small frustrations, but once you identify what they are, you can shape a solution that makes their life easier and their business run more smoothly. You want to find out about their situation, their current provider, the solution that they've got in place at the moment, and the challenges they're experiencing. So the more pain points you can uncover, the easier it will be to show them how you can help them, and the more willing they will be to want you to do this. While not every prospect will have the exact same problems, most of them, though, will have problems in 1 or 2 similar areas. So start by building a list of these areas, and then listing out the questions that would help to uncover these issues. So one of the questions I often get asked is, should we be using a word-for-word verbatim script? In my opinion, you simply don't need it, and it can be so limiting. What you're really trying to do is provide a framework for your sales team to work from, so that they know what questions they should and can ask. When they ask each question depends on each individual conversation. So your salesperson shouldn't feel that they must find a way to ask every question on your list. Instead, they should select the right question from your list to ask at the right time, based on the conversation and the prospect's responses to that point. This builds a very thoughtful conversation. Start with broad questions that are easy to answer and not too direct. Avoid commercially sensitive questions too early in the call, but ask these when you've talked to the prospect about their challenges and you've built more rapport with them. So here's an example. Imagine that you're a company that provides outsourced payroll. In this example, you'd think about the most common issues that companies have when processing payroll and listing then the open questions that drill into these pain points. So here's what I mean. Common issue number 1 might be processing payroll is time and people intensive. So questions your salesperson could ask are, how much time do you or your team spend processing payroll each month? And how many people are involved in this right now? So what happens as you grow? How many more staff will you have to add to manage the payroll function? And how often does the time spent processing payroll prevent you or your staff from completing other important tasks? Okay, so what would it be like if you could get all that time or some of that time back? So you start broad to find out if there is an issue in that area, and if there is, you drill down. If there isn't, you move on to the next common issue. So common issue number 2 might be maintaining compliance with penalty rates and overtime. The questions your salesperson could ask here are, do you have staff who work all overtime or who are on penalty rates at different times? Okay, so how often do incorrect tax rates get applied by mistake? And how long does it take the team to fix that up each time? And how do your staff feel when they don't get paid correctly? Okay, so how much time do your staff typically spend ensuring that the business remains current with all payroll and superannuation legislation? How would it be if you didn't have to worry about this ever again? So again, you start by finding out if there's an issue there, and if there is, you drill down. If there isn't, you move on to the next area. Common issue number 3 could be payroll errors cause staff to be underpaid or overpaid. So questions your salesperson could ask are, well, how often do you have staff who are either underpaid or overpaid because of payroll calculation mistakes? And how much time does it take to fix this each time? So how do your employees feel when they aren't paid correctly? How does it make your team look and you look? Does it make them look bad? How would it be if you didn't have to do this anymore? So if you asked all of these questions one after the other, the prospect would feel you were working from a script and quite frankly would feel bombarded. That's not how it's meant to be. You ask the first or maybe even the second question each section. If there's no issue, you move on to the next one and so on. Only when you find pain do you drill down. Not every prospect will have the same issue, but they're likely to have an issue at least in one of those areas. And if a prospect doesn't have an issue, move on to the next, as I say, and so on. Once you find a pain point, ask the more in-depth probing questions. And if there's enough pain in one area, there's often no need to go any further. But if you do and you move on to another area, don't keep asking the same question, how would it be if, but find an alternative. The questions are there to be used intuitively as prompts for a good conversation and to allow that conversation to develop. A saying that I like to use is act dumb and dig deep. So go ahead and ask the questions that might seem like dumb ones. Ask the prospect, how is that affecting you? And how does that make you feel? Those sorts of questions may seem to lack finesse, but in a conversation, they can really elicit people's true feelings and frustrations with their current situation. After you have completed the discovery section of the call and you found the pain points, there are going to be prospects who are interested and keen to know more. You'll know who they are because they will have clearly expressed frustration with their existing situation, and they'll be ready to take the next step. Thank you.